Well, let's start the news review. And joining me in studio now, it will be an all-male affair today. I have Kwame Nkrumah Boakye, General Secretary of the CPP. He's here. Good morning. I hope you're well.
I love your shirt. I hope I will be able to concentrate with all these wonderful colors.
Well, I have to give it up for my tailor.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, but also to the Joy News. There's a lady who's in charge of the way we look on TV. Okay. She gave me this, so yeah.
Wow.
I hope that is well.
Yes.
Good, great. I also have Appiah Danquah. He's a lawyer and spokesperson for Movement for Change, Afrofronto. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
I hope all is well.
I'm doing great also.
How's Alan doing?
Great.
Okay. And let's welcome Professor Isaac Body. He's Dean Accounting and Finance, UPSA. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope all is well.
Very well. And good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir. Well, I have, we all have papers in front of us. Kwame, what do you have?
I have the Ghanaian Times.
Okay. Danquah, what do you have?
I have the Daily Analyst.
Daily Analyst. And Prof?
The Ghanaian Publisher.
You have the Publisher. I have the Custodian and the Daily Graphic. Maybe we take what is on our front pages, then we can go into the papers. Kwame, let's start.
So we have Inferno in Tema.
Okay.
We also have producer inflation eases to 10.2% in May. Government committed to enhancing SHS infrastructure, Dr. Apak. Vetting of Supreme Court nominee by Parliament postponed indefinitely.
And that's Ghanaian Times.
Ghanaian Times.
Oh, the Supreme Court nominee.
Yes.
His own has been postponed indefinitely.
Yes.
Anyway.
But then there's been a resolution. I heard on air this morning that he's going to be vetted
today.
Yes.
Oh, so what's the resolution?
The petition by the petitioner against him has been dismissed.
Okay.
And I think rightfully so.
Okay.
My colleague, legal practitioner, will say that His Lordship Justice Akabuafo is a wonderful judge, and I'm glad the petition has been dismissed. We look forward to seeing him in the Supreme Court.
Right. Danquah.
So from the Daily Analyst, I think the headline is Galamsey fight. Government must be decisive. GCAC demands. Then you have NSA staff union hails suspension of central management system. Other youth voice outrage over lavish trade by traditional leaders. Government to review decentralized SHS supply, food supply. DJA elections. June 4 gets massive support in the country. Over 60 NPP MPs publicly endorsed.
Okay. All right. Prof.
Yeah, I have
the Ghanaian Publisher.
The Ghanaian Publisher. The first story here on the page 2. Mohamed's Galamsey work, a facade, says Ghana Academy of Professional Forum also. There's another story also in page 3, early knockout. MPP MPs backed by me. I'm sure it's the same story.
Yeah.
Then there's another story here, and that's also captured in page 2. Detect queries Efutu NDC PC over Dr. Title. And then in page 3, we have the Ablikmanov rerun last option.
Okay. Wow. I have the Custodian on the front page. Investigate NDC campaigns in Galamsey. Coalition tells government. Tano North NDC officers fight over school feeding contract. Boakye Is Our Man for 2028. Over 60 MPP MPs declare. Horticulture, key to Ghana's inclusive growth. Fidelity Bank MD. And EC blames AG for stalled Ablikmanov coalition. Daily Graphic, end fake titles, certificate saga. Lecturer advocate, law bagged national database of professional titles. First National Bank receives $35 million capital injection. No academic fee policy. 129,000 freshers apply for grants. And Sunyani Traditional Council suspends Queen Mother over installation of chief. Okay, but let's start it off this way. I'll give you 2 minutes for you to tell us what's on your mind. Yeah, Kwame, you go first.
The Inferno at Tema. We all know that Tema is one of the planned cities which was very dear to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and was constructed by the CPP. And this Inferno brings to mind a quotation by the Osajifo. He said, it is not Africa that is poor. It is Africans who have been impoverished by centuries of exploitation and domination. And I think to myself, how can our fellow citizens, as we sit here at this nice place, I mean, we go about in our houses and, I mean, we live, okay, we have our fellow citizens living in 400 wooden structures. Somebody will complain, the law must work and all that. But I heard of the cause of the fire this morning. Apparently, somebody is celebrating her birthday. A lady is celebrating her birthday today and was cooking yesterday. And it looks like the fire went out of control. You see, even in the midst of such squalor, people are going about with their lives. But we can't sit there unconcerned. And when we look at domination and exploitation, of course, we have the neo-colonialist tendencies, but we also have to look within. We have this Galamsey site that has been discovered that is protected by people who are alleged to be national security operatives. It's unconfirmed, but this is a form of exploitation. When we think of exploitation, we think of the foreigners, but we exploit each other, and that is what is on our mind. Let us love our fellow Ghanaian as we should be loving them. I hope this is the last time we'll hear of any Ghanaian living in a wooden structure. I hope this is the last time. Because you go abroad, there are homeless people, but more often than not, it's because of maybe drug addiction or another issue. And even they have options. They have soup kitchens. They have access to certain facilities. In Ghana, we have, I mean, wonderful soup kitchens by Father Campbell at the Christ the King Hall. We have such instances, but we have to up our game. We shouldn't be seeing this. These are not animals.
The curiosities are large.
They are large.
If you go to Smuggling Text, I think behind, I've forgotten the name of the hotel, but there's a kiosk city at that end. Around Lashby, there are kiosk cities dotted all around the area. So there are a lot.
Everywhere.
But what can we do when the state does not have that sort of, quote, affordable housing that these people can what can we do?
We will get there. You know, Osajifo knew the problem. He didn't say just exploitation and domination. He said centuries of exploitation and domination. You don't undo 400 years of slavery, 400, I mean, centuries of colonization and the continent being ripped apart in just a day. It takes a while, but it takes a conscious effort, fully focused, 24/7 in all our actions. If it is taxes that we have to pay, we have to pay those taxes. If it is paying our employees well, we have to do that. It is not just the government policies, but we, the citizens also. We need to go the full haul to make sure that no Ghanaian lives in a wooden structure from this day. Every Ghanaian should live in the Tema that the Osajifo dreamed of, a planned city. But now we don't have planned cities. Even some of our residential areas, even some of the estates, I mean, built on waterways. When it rains, we have floods. Let's go back to the blueprint for this country.
Okay, I'm grateful to you. Danquah.
Yeah, so let me wish you a lovely viewers. Wish my colleagues here a very good morning. In the light of the spirit of exploitation, my thought this morning is on evil is doing to the country. I think if there's something that, in my view, is clear, over the past few years.
Lord Danquah, can you speak up a bit for me? So
over the past few years, it's not the new colonialists, neither is it the foreigners who are exploiting Ghana, but we, the Ghanaians ourselves, led by the politicians, and enabled, sadly, by the various presidents, are the ones exploiting Ghana. Recent Swiss aid report claims that for the last 5 years, Ghana has lost about $11.5 billion due to smuggling of gold. Now, this is really sad when you place into context the fact that we went to the IMF for $3 billion. The issues plaguing our energy sector is about $3.4 billion. We are talking about a situation where we don't have social housing, we don't have affordable housing. We are talking about issues where we do not have as in health care systems that will make the life of the common Ghanaian a bit livable. You talk about issues in fundamental issues in our infrastructure of this country, all the problems that we are plagued with. To think that because of the fact that our politicians, especially the president, when I say the president, if he's over the past 5 years, like Leonardo, understand, in spite of the trust that the Constitution created on him, will sleep on his job and cause the property of Ghana to be stolen, up to the tune of $11.5 billion. Yeah, you understand? Beyond this evil that they sat down and allowed to befall this country. Also, the Galamsey issue is one of the biggest existential threats to us as a people because of its impact on the environment. You understand? The fact that in purifying the gold, you need to use cyanide, you need to use mercury, you need to use all these chemicals that are known to cause changes in the DNA, the impact on the environment, the impact on the ecology. Yeah, you understand? So we need to be up and doing. And I side with my brother's call, because if there's any call, then that call should be a call for patriotism. That we should create a system where our focus should be on what is in the best interest of the country. And this call is not just to leadership, but also to the ordinary Ghanaian. Because at the end of the day, we make the first decision in every governance cycle. And it is necessary that when we are making those decisions, our sole consideration is not on partisan consideration. The only consideration ought to be what is in the best interest of the country. Okay. Because the way things are going, not only are we destroying this environment, as in we are privileged to be in the best part of the world. Not only are we destroying this environment, but because of our disregard for the country, when we are making decisions, we've created a situation where over 5 years, people have stolen just a small bit of the property of Ghana, that's good, to the tune of 11.5 billion.
Is it based on taxes they didn't pay on it, or really?
No. So is, see, the point is, there's so much we get from the gold, as in terms of royalties, in terms of, so that if it was if the gold was done properly and sold through the right channels,
yes, we would have gotten
11.5. But beyond that, because that 11.5 billion is just what's called a percentage of. But just imagine the liquid that would have flown into the country, that would have dealt with the creation of, as in job creation issues, creating the environment where there will be real prosperity in the country. And that's why we cannot afford to sleep and allow the natural resources, which ought to be the basis for our economic prosperity, to be stolen.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of us need to be up and doing. We understand that the president is a trustee, but in that cycle, in that governance cycle, the first decision is a decision taken by the ordinary people of this country. And just to add, beyond taking that decision, also we ought to create that political culture where we, the ordinary people of this country, will continue to hold the leadership accountable. And unless we do that, unless we participate in this democratic effort, then we'll create a country, we'll create a system where our doors are held ajar, where people will steal the natural resources, which ought to be the basis for our economic emancipation. Thank you.
Checking smuggling of gold. Yes, Prof.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to your viewers once again. What is on my mind? A lot of things. But I'm sure as a country, you wake up, you have a lot of things on your mind. But one of the things that we can discuss is on the Fitch B- upgrade. And then comment afterwards. In fact, if you read the report, we have now been upgraded to B-.
Yeah.
And it's a good story to be told. And they specified or indicated the reasons for the change in our position, mainly the debt restructuring benefits and then IMF program implementations, some improvement in the physical metrics that we have been taught. When the news broke out, we've seen NDC taking the credit, NPP also trying to take the credit. It's fine, but the point is that the report marks deeper crisis as well, and people have not seen that. They stated in a report that we should expect 26% interest to income ratio. That will be broadly stable from 2025, 2026, and I'm sure beyond. Why should we be worried about this? People have not taken notice of that statement. What is the income to revenue ratio? It tells you the proportion of the revenue of this government and how much should go in servicing our debt, the interest on our debt, on the loans that we borrow. Across the globe, the better measurement should be between 10 to 15. And across, just our nose here, other countries very close to us, they are servicing with about 13% to 15%. But we are doing about 26%. What it means that if we generate a revenue as a country of 100 cedis, 26 should be spent on servicing just our interest on the debt, on the amount that we have borrowed. What it means that we limit that space to create, to develop. One, infrastructure will be lacking, health issues will be lacking, a lot of issues will come out of this.
That is not due to what we've done to ourselves in the past.
Yes.
That has landed us here.
So for me, it's not about the credit. It is about interpreting the numbers and find out what must we do where we find ourselves. If we're spending 26% in servicing interest as a country, it's a worrying situation. And I'm sure our administrators must take this into consideration and not be happy walking on the street that we have. Because of exchange rate is going down. There are some fundamental structural policies that must pursue. What must we do as a country? And if you look at the ratio, it's a matter of controlling your interest that you pay. You reduce your interest on the payment, and then you increase your revenue stream. That's a better way of managing this. And other thing will be in terms of improving our spending efficiency. If you don't do that, you keep spending anyhow, we'll also come back to the same situation. It used to be about 25% in 2024. Now it's going up. And they are predicted that within 2-3 years, you are going to remain 26% over a period of time. So to promote economic growth, we need to do a lot. We need to fix the system.
Okay, all right. Let's start from mine. I have the custodian, and the big story here is Boakye Is Our Man for 2028. Over 60 NPP MPs declare. And the story is on page 3 of the paper. It says, former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Boakye has gained the trust of lawmakers as more than 60 MPs of the main opposition New Patriotic Party have thrown their weight behind him for the party's presidential primary on January 31, 2026. The MPs, representing various constituencies across the country, declared their unflinching support for Dr. Boakye when they paid a courtesy call on him at his private office in Accra yesterday. Well, Kwame,
yeah.
What do you make of this? Now, since the leadership of the National Council of the party announced that they fixed the presidential primary for 31st January 2026, we've seen a lot of movement in the party, several reactions to this. Yesterday, you saw we are told over 60 MPs have gone to Dr. Boakye to say, we back you. What does that mean for the flag bearership race in the party?
First of all, I'll say that democracy is a very good thing. I mean, since I think it was first propounded by one of the Greek philosophers. I've forgotten his name. We learned all this. There are various systems of government, but this is the best we have at the moment. And I think it is a good thing that the NPP is choosing their flag bearer now. Because every political party, you have to be active on a day-to-day basis. You have to be competitive. You have to be propounding policies that will move the country forward. And when we have such decisions as made by the NPP, that means that those interested in the flag bearership would now have to come out as to why they should be voted for, as to what they can do for their party, as to what they can do for their for the country. And it works all around, even for the ruling government. I'm sure they will also be listening out to what they are saying, and if they have any policies, they can tweak it accordingly. The competitive nature of democracy is good. It makes a country progress. So I think it's a very, very good decision. And I pray that all the political parties will also quickly choose their flag bearers so that we can deal with issues as to how to move the country forward. When there's a lull in political activity, then it just becomes criticism of government policies. But when there's active political activity, in spite of the criticism, you also have people propounding how to move things forward. Because no matter how good a policy you put in place today, society is not static, it is dynamic. Tomorrow, the policies of today may become, what do you call it, may become extinct. And then you need the ideas of everybody. Everybody has something in their head that no other person has, which can move the country forward. And I think the NPP has taken the right step. The MPs have thrown their weight behind Dr. Bawumia. But I also heard that there are other people interested in the race. I think Honorable Kennedy
Japan. So Kennedy Japan is there.
Yes.
You have Dr. Yawose Educhum. He's also declared his intention.
Yes.
Brian Achampon hasn't declared forthright because he said he put out a committee to solicit views of the people, and then he will base on that. Yesterday I spoke to one of his aides, Dr. Amwakokisi, and he said they are going to release a statement, I think is it today or within the week, that will communicate to Ghanaians what the intention is, whether he will contest. But so now we know Dr. Bawumia will, Kennedy Japan will, Dr. Oseya Oduchum will contest. Yes. We are waiting on whether, okay, we've also heard about Kwabena Japan. He's also said he will. We are waiting on to hear Brian Achampon. And I know that someone like Joe Gate is also, considering his options. So, but for now, confirmed, we know that the 4 people will be contested.
And I like what you said about what Honorable Brian Achampon's strategist said, that he'll communicate to the country.
Yes.
Because politics is only a medium for you to come and serve the country. It's only a conduit. It doesn't end with the political party. Your responsibility is to the people of Ghana. So when the time comes for the NPP delegates to choose, we, the CPP, we are poised to win power in 2028. We are working towards it. But it's an open field. I suppose in politics, anything can happen, no matter which advantage any political party feels they have today, whether it's a ruling party or an opposition. It can change at any time, given the right strategy by the political parties and the goodwill they have for Ghanaians. And I would urge the NPP delegates that when the time comes, don't look at the one who will do the most for you, the individual, or will do the most for your party, but look at the one who will do the most for the ordinary Ghanaian and your descendants. Because the decisions you take today will influence what your descendants will come and meet many years down the line.
Great. Let me come to Lawyer Danquah. Lawyer, does the over 60 MPs who say they are supporting Bawumia do anything to the contest?
So, personally for me, and let me add that ordinarily, how the MVP does their business shouldn't concern me.
Okay.
Ordinarily, it shouldn't concern me.
Because you are yellow, you are Afro-Franto.
I'm first Ghanaian and second Afro-Franto.
But you are coming out of the MPP, so really.
Yeah. So I'm not an MPP anymore. So how they do their things ordinarily, it shouldn't have concerned me. But because of this system of governance we've taken upon ourselves, and because of the role political parties can and ought to play in the system, then we should all be interested in the affairs of all the political parties. So, because of that, I think I'm a bit disappointed in how they are handling their issues. The fact that, in spite of the clear issues that they have been dealt with as a political party, in spite of the radical shift of their party from their core principles and values, in spite of the clear issues within their party and how those issues impacted the last elections, in spite of the so-called postmortem that they claim to have done, the fact that they've hidden the said postmortem from the party and from the general public is a bit surprising. And
but sorry, I don't catch you. But the postmortem brought about the formation of that committee that has brought these suggestions to the party.
But for a party that claims to believe in the liberal democratic principles, for a party that says that they believe in the freedom of thought, to hide the findings from their party, from the rank and file of their party. Well, have you seen the report?
I did.
But you've not seen the report. So whatever you think you've heard is rumor. Yeah, you understand? It's taking away.
We have snippet of the report, but yeah, you continue.
It's taking away the opportunity for real debate among the rank and file, even concerning the decision they've taken, which they claim is based on the report that only they have seen. For me, it tells me that this is a party that clearly has no commitment, one, in dealing with the fundamental issues that borders on the soul of the party itself, because the soul of the party is the value system, the principles. You understand? And that it convinces me that the party increasingly is becoming a home for charlatans who just see the party as a vehicle in advancing their parochial interest.
But don't you agree with them when they say the reason we want to do it so early is so that we can close our rank and file and have enough time to build on party unity before the 2028 election? Isn't that a good strategy?
No, in the sense that there's a view, and there's a massive view within the party, that attempting to hold elections and against the clear practice of the party, and the clear practice of the party is that the presidential after every elections there's a restructuring that happens. So you have the polling station elections, you have what's it called, constituency elections, you have regional, and you have
national.
Now, for the party to take a decision as to whether it follows their own constitution or not but for a party that says they are liberal democrats, so to create a system where people can take decisions that are seen to be arbitrary, that goes clearly against their own practices within the party. You understand? Clearly supports that view that the party has now become a home for charlatans who only see the party as a means of advancing their parochial agenda. And so, if that view is to be believed or is to have any credence, then it should not matter whether 60 MPs endorse somebody or not. You understand? At the end of the day, the fundamental issues that have led Ghanaians to lose so much confidence in the ability of the new patriotic party to advance the cause of the country are still present. They have not been tackled. You understand? So the argument about, in spite of our practices, in spite of the clear terms of our constitution, we taking this decision, which is seen in some quarters to be arbitrary and against the clear terms of their own constitution, in my opinion, tells me that one of the biggest political parties, institutions in this country is so ill, and that their sickness their sickness, potentially can affect politics in this country. Because, you see, if there's something that is right, is the belief that for you to sustain democracy, then you have to create a system where your political institutions, the political institutions includes the government, the political government as in the various forms of government, as in the executive, the parliament, the courts, it includes the political parties. I'll add the media, a fundamental role to create that right political culture that would tolerate diverse views, that would hold political leadership accountable, that would create a system where the principles of the rule of law will be guaranteed. You understand? So then, if you have a major political party in the country that is departing from the values and principles that the people of Ghana agreed should underpin their constitution, and which will be a basis for your own constitution and your practices. You understand? And if increasingly your focus is shifting from Ghana, but from using whatever means, including the party as a vehicle, only to advance your parochial ambition, whether politically, whether economically. For me, it tells me that you've even lost focus and there's no reason why you should even continue existing as a political party.
But what they're doing is enshrined in their party constitution. The dates they've set. Because if you read their constitution, it says the National Council shall, and the word is shall, you are lawyers, shall is mandatory, shall decide the date and venue for the presidential primary.
Yes, but
so the constitution has given them that.
So what I'm saying, per their own constitution, per their own practices. You understand? The presidential election usually is the last leg of a host of elections.
But the constitution is not specific on how it's. So maybe it's the convention.
See, when you do a constitutional debate, and most of you will remember, Professor Kumado told us. So for every constitution, there's what we have written and unwritten. Yeah. So you go to a country like the UK, they don't have a written constitution, but their practices are. You understand?
So it's more of the practices.
And so you have a party that have a system, and that system is that after every 4 years, like before they hold the presidential election, there's a fundamental restructuring. So what you do, the polling station, you do, because essentially what they are trying to do is to use the old album to elect. And so there's a perception that they want the decision is premised on a desire by certain people within the party to aid one candidate against the other, especially when there's a fundamental call within the party that listen, we need to have a radical alteration. We need to open up the system for every member of the party to vote, because if there's one fundamental problem which has caused people to question the integrity of the new patriotic party to their own value, that value being the value of their belief in liberal democracy, which possess that those who govern must do so with the consent of those they govern. And that's where they've created a situation where usually in their delegates conference, people's votes are bought. And that fundamental principle of liberal democracy is defeated, because then that consent is bought. And we know in law that consent is vitiated or it becomes voidable by issues of undue influence. You understand? So one would have thought that these lapses, this radical departure from their core values, having led the people of Ghana to give them one of their, in fact, their lowest performance, their worst performance post J.J. Rawlings, the party would have taken this opportunity to reflect and to start the process of reconstituting their party to align to their stated value set. You understand? When you take the position you've taken and when you behave and act in the manner they are acting, then it reinforces the belief that indeed this party has departed fundamentally from their core values, and that it's become a home for charlatans whose sole purpose is to use the party as a vehicle to advance their parochial political agenda. And the people of Ghana are watching. The people of Ghana are watching. The people of Ghana are not convinced. The people of Ghana are asking questions. And it does not matter whether 60 MPs throw their support behind a candidate or not. Especially so when this candidate, and based on how things are going, is further losing his credibility. Candidate that was sold to Ghanaians as being an economic expert comes into power and suddenly become an IT expert. And then right after power, he wants to become an economic expert again. You understand? Then it becomes a worry. So, Prof, I beg you.
But Kwame, if you talk about someone losing the credibility, that I think should be backed by some fact, right?
Yes, yes, and the fact is, in 2016. No, fact.
You should be able to tell that indeed.
Yeah, I'm backing
something
facts.
shows it.
Yeah, and I'm backing with facts. So between 2012 and 2016,
economic messiah.
No, you're asking the specific things he said. Yeah, understand. If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. We are going to read about transformation. What's called His Excellency, and I do say what CD9 what attempt the hatterization of the city, the principle of the hatterization of the city. You understand?
But the politicians, you're also a politician. The politicians do say popularly that you have campaign platform message, and then when you are in power to
but I've never believed in that. I've met my brother here a number of times. I don't believe, because you see, we shouldn't accept.
Your word is your bond.
Yes, we shouldn't accept that's okay. And then you come into power. And then beyond, as in the dollar rise and the breach of everything we knew about economics, Economy 101, the safest place to place your money is in government bonds. That principle was breached. But some of the dangerous fiscal decisions they took. One, you say you are going to do economic transformation. You are going to shift your resources to areas that are more productive as against areas that are less productive. And you sit down and you take the decision to spend 400 million Ghana cedis on one of your most transformational programs, 1D1F. And you spend over 5 billion Ghana cedis on NAPCO. Because in any economy, the role government plays directly is in the fiscal policies, how you raise money and how you spend money. And that decision is very critical. Okay. And so to have somebody who the president himself admitted to have taken that Koshoko decision to spend 400 million Ghana cedis on 1D1F and 5 billion on NAPCO, that shows the extent to which the man has lost credibility. So for me, you see, I don't want to go into any secret because there's so much we can say there. But just to say that from the story, it's not about the 60 MPs throwing their weight. But the story is the refusal of the party to take the steps that will cause a restoration of their core values, which will represent the rebuilding, the reinforcement of the soul of their party.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to you. Yes, Prof.
Yes, when my good friend was about to start, he indicated that it doesn't concern him, the 60 MPs supporting Boakye. It doesn't concern. But I'm sure he spent about 10 minutes or so in discussing. So it means it concerns you.
So what is concerned?
No. And I enjoy his submission.
You can say he's a descendant of the elephant family. So, yeah.
Because when he said it
doesn't concern, but he spoke about it.
More than that. So but the matter concerns you.
But I made a caveat that because we are Ghanaians and because we're European parties, it should concern everyone.
That is fine.
So means it concerns you. But I also enjoy. No, it's better you talk about that. Kwame also indicated that the CPP is poised to take power in 2020.
Exactly.
28.
Yes.
And I'm happy to hear that for the first time. It appears that you are.
Well, in 2024 too, we made that point. But of course, we selected our flag bearer quietly.
That is fine. That's fine. My good friend, I think the number supporting Boakye, anything that the opposition wants to do, a party wants to do, it must concern all of us. You know, a strong opposition party is not an enemy to democracy.
Exactly, yeah.
No, it's not. It rather ensures accountability, essential guidance to peace and to promote growth in our country. It allows the government, it forces the government to sit up. So when you have an opposition party that is strong, well organized, we all will benefit. And for me, this story or the issue is normal. It happens all the time. It's happened in NDC, it's happened in NPP, and I'm sure CPP, you're going through the same issue. So I don't see any problem with this. This happened days after the other candidate also had supporters. About 200 and something MDC also coming to his residence, that's Ken, to show their support. And then day after, we saw the minority, or about 60 MPs, who also went to his residence to throw their support to this man. Is there anything wrong with this? From afar, I would have loved a party that had been in opposition just after 5 months. When you don't expect to be in opposition sometimes, and you get there, you are dazed. You don't know what to do. So I would have loved the party will go through the report submitted by the committee, go through the reports, interrogate the reports, have phases of implementations before you come out to do this. In the wisdom of the NEC, they decided that let's fix a date to do the primaries. They've given reasons why they want to do this. And from afar, I have also realized that for some 1 week or 2 weeks, we've seen some kind of comment from some of the leaders from other camps, from Ken, from former vice president camp as well. So if they don't take care, it might degenerate into other comments and issues that rather will deepen the cracks. So in the wisdom of the NEC, they say, okay, let's have a date and do this, just to calm matters and allow things to prevail. So for me, I would have loved, they would have given phases of implementation per the report they received, and then see how they will restructure, rebrand the party. But for me, if it's about to curb the noise, that will also help. But my issue is that this issue should not degenerate or further cracks in the party. But what they are doing at this moment, they should be very careful and mindful of every action of any of the aspirants. You know, whether Ken or whether Baumia, all the camps, they must know that it's a common battle they are all facing, they are all fighting. It's about coming back to power in 2028. What can the party, do to ensure that they come back in 2028? I'm not sure that should be the focus of this, the MPP party and executive. Okay. And you know, we did assessment over the period. I think last week we did an assessment of a scorecard of MPP administration in opposition. We assess the minority, we assess the national executive as well. And we also gave some kind of advice, what they can also do to help, push the party to power if they would so wish to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the daily graphic line on page 16. 14 years of production. Ghanaians see oil as neither a blessing nor curse. That's according to a research. It says the majority of Ghanaians believe that the discovery of oil in commercial quantities significantly has neither a positive nor a negative impact on the country and its citizens. A research by the University of Ghana has established. The study pointed out that in spite of accruing $11.21 billion in oil revenue for the last 14 years, the citizens had not seen substantial reductions in poverty and inequality. I remember in 2008, President Kufuor spent money to bring in Norwegians, if you remember that story,
yes.
To help us on how we wouldn't suffer, how do you call it?
The resource curse.
The resource curse. 14 years down the line, we say it's neither a blessing nor a curse. So we are in between. How does that strike you? Appiah Danquah?
The question again.
I mean, that 14 years down the line, Ghanaians say the oil find is neither a blessing nor a curse. So we are in between. As a Ghanaian, and for what you've all known over 14 years, how does that come to you?
So for me, as the ordinary Ghanaian, how do I benefit from not just oil, but from all the mineral resources that God has blessed us with? I think this question, in my opinion, is similar to what's called the issues concerning our mineral resources. Yes, probably we may not be doing what's called galamsey with the oil, but essentially, for a country that has oil, as an ordinary citizen, I still spend a lot of money buying fuel. There's a fundamental deficiency in infrastructure.
So you were thinking that because we found oil, at least our oil prices would have come down?
Yeah, but it was an opportunity. So let's say we have oil here. If, let's say we, as in our policy, in our strategy, we found a way of refining a bit of the oil here, certainly the cost of oil would have come down. And we know the cascading impact of fuel, what's called, all around. You go to, what's it called, toward the Western region and to the rest of the country. How has the revenue from the oil aided in the lack of infrastructure? How has the oil aided in job creation? How has the oil aided in creating a system where we have the best shot at becoming prosperous? You get the argument. So because of as in the struggle to point to ways in which the oil and similarly our mineral resources has impacted or aided us to fulfill our economic objectives as a people, then I tend to stand with that view that really is not being what's called a blessing
and not being a curse as well.
Well, for now, but you see, unless, because usually the curse of these are resources, one can be seen in strangely the fact that it could usually it impacts the environment, it can bring about real poverty, it impacts governments indeed. So I think that, you see, usually it's like a tree that is not growing. If your tree is not growing, then that it is going to die. So this is not a blessing or a curse. Usually if something is not a blessing, it will eventually become a curse. You understand? Yeah. So we shouldn't be sitting on our oars and saying that, oh, it's not a blessing or a curse. Because usually it's like a tree. When a tree stops to grow, eventually it will die. Okay. But when something ceases to be a blessing, eventually it will become a curse. So we need to have serious thinking, not just about the oil, but also about all our mineral resources, and find ways and strategies in which these resources, which, like I said again, is the foundation for what? Because when you do the fundamental principle in international investment law, is a resolution by the UN that every country has the what's called the sovereign power over its natural resources. Yeah. So your natural resources really serve as the base for your prosperity agenda. And deep thinking needs to go on in how we can turn our natural resources, the minerals, the trees, and the oil, into real blessing for the ordinary Ghanaian. Other than that, just sit down and say that it's not a blessing or a curse. We eventually turn it into a curse. Because like a tree, if a tree stops growing, eventually it will die.
Okay. But Kwame, we know that the government's free SHS policy at least had a lot of its funding from the ABFA.
Yes.
Professor Abdullahi of the University of Ghana stated that instead of funding thousands of minor initiatives with insufficient financial backing, the government must prioritize fewer high-impact projects that could be fully executed using the ABFA funds. wasn't the free SHS one way of doing that? And can't we look at the free SHS to say maybe that could be a blessing? Not now, but in future we could get a dividend.
You are right. The free SHS is it's a good policy, because even if you look at maybe a country like Switzerland, what resources do they have apart from the citizens and their minds? Every resource you have should be invested in the citizens and their minds. They are the ones who bring the ideas to move the country forward. Venezuela is sitting on large oil deposits, but you cannot even get toilet roll to buy in Venezuela. A place like Norway also sits on huge deposits. They have used it well. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait.
Yes.
Kuwait has used theirs so well that in years past, when you get married, apparently I pay $25,000. You don't pay tax, and some countries have found a way to really use it in a certain way. But I mean,
even I mentioned UAE entirely, how they've used oil to develop their region.
But I also read somewhere that our oil is not exactly, it's all oil, but there are different grades, and our oil is not exactly the Saudi Arabia or Kuwait type that is in such high demand. So we also have to look at that factor, that assuming we even had larger quantities, is it of what is needed currently on the market as we have it? And also the existing structures of trading in oil. Are we at an advantage or are we at a disadvantage?
But despite that, we've explored oil.
Yes.
We've gotten huge revenues from it. Yes. Yet Ghanaians say we don't see anything. That's the
the thing is that it will not bring back what you call in law rebus sic stantibus. That is a radical change in circumstances. I also thought that overnight it will become Kuwait, but it seems it doesn't work that way. It's a gradual process. Investing those resources into free SHS is a very good initiative. You understand me? It builds the manpower. So,
does that make it a blessing for you?
I would say that it is a blessing. It is a blessing. You can say there's room for improvement. When you talk about the resource curse, it is basically when you neglect all other areas because you have identified the resource. And Nigeria was used as a typical example. It had a booming agricultural sector. But the moment they discovered oil, they neglected all other areas, and those areas died. So you don't neglect the other areas because you have identified. Norway with their oil, they still concentrate on other areas. They concentrate on the manpower. It becomes a curse when you see it as a windfall. You don't see it as a windfall. You don't see it as an inheritance that your great-grandfather has left you $20 million, so now you are going to stop working. It doesn't work that way. When people say blessing, people think it means I don't have to work 9 to 5 again. It depends on what you term as a blessing. A blessing does not mean there will be a radical change in your circumstances. It only means that there will be a gradual improvement. So you will not see it. It's not all blessings that you see immediately. You will not see it, but you look back one day and you're like, hey, how did we get here? Ghana as we have it today is not Ghana as we had many years ago. I always tell people that the HIPIC initiative, for example, that time I was in the Upper West, I used to go up and down Ghana. So I could see the gradual changes that were, even something as somebody would say, something as small but significant as KVIPs.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of KVIPs springing up saying HIPIC initiative,
benefits,
which means that there was a huge reduction in people kneeling behind trees to ease themselves. So it's gradual. I think it is a blessing. Every resource is a blessing as long as you don't misuse it and as long as it doesn't need to neglect of other areas. So it is a blessing. we will see the benefits in the long term.
Okay.
I mean, subject to good management of the blessing. If you don't manage it well like Venezuela, then it's not going to yield any fruits. Okay. If you manage it the way Norway, Saudi Arabia, and others have managed it.
But Venezuela has some sanctions against that country.
Exactly.
Because couldn't that be a reason why we are not seeing Venezuela probably utilize its resources the way
it could be one of the reasons. As I said, sometimes the market structures can put you at a disadvantage. And it brings us back to the quotation by Osajifo at the beginning, that Africa is not poor. It is it is impoverished by centuries of exploitation and domination. Domination. Because we are dominated. I mean, which decisions do we make for ourselves? If it's 26% debt servicing, do we decide that for ourselves? No, we don't.
But you decided to go for the loans.
We decided to go for the loans because
those are decisions you made for yourself.
It's true, because in the short to medium term, something has to be done. We have to move forward whilst we are restoring our long-term strategies. Because the long-term strategy, we have it. Osajifo gave the blueprint many years ago. And we can see the various governments practicing it. So whilst we are implementing those long-term strategies in the background, there's something you have to do in the short to medium term.
All right, grateful. Let me bring in Prof. Yeah. Prof, you deal with the finance aspect. Now, $11.21 billion over 14 years.
Yeah.
I mean, is what we are seeing enough? 11 billion.
The way you ask the question, as if I'm the administrator of this country. When they come, you don't ask this question. You want to come here,
no, when the minister comes here, ask for this one.
Where's the money? You know, a country, Ghana, we've been blessed with all the resources that we can count. Gold, the minerals, bauxite. Recently, we've discovered another one.
Lithium.
Lithium.
In Central region.
We have everything in this country, yet we're impoverished. They're struggling. And I'm sure the gentleman, the professor who did the research, has done a good thing. And he's asking us a question. Ghanaians see oil as neither a blessing nor a curse. We started commercial oil production as a country in 2010 when we had a former president, and you indicated, gave a good background when we started the production. In fact, all of us thought our predicament had come to an end when we discovered oil. It was pomp and pageantry. We were so happy. Today, we are back talking about this, either a blessing or a curse. Let's take the issue one by one. A blessing. I mean, not a blessing, not a curse. For those individuals who would think it's not a blessing, it's as a result of some revenue volatility over the period. And you know, we don't control prices of oil in the world. We only will control quantity, and that will be determined by the prices globally. So when there are shocks to prices, and in 2015, 2020, you can understand the global shocks in terms of price of commodity oil. And when you have a situation like that, you're unable to plan with your income. You have instability with your inflows because it affects your planning. So I'm sure for those I've not read the entire paper, but for those who would think that it's not a blessing, it's one of the reasons of the revenue volatility. We don't see, and in terms of its impact on individual lives, people we don't see. So those who are that school of thought that it's not a blessing, they don't see real impact in their lives. I have oil, I produce oil, but let us not forget we are net importer. The quantity that we consume are more than what we are able to produce over a period. So technically, we'll still have the oil, but we don't see the impact in our economy. That's for those who think it's not a blessing. But what about those who also, yes, it's not a curse. It's not a curse. Go back to history.
To add a bit of, according to the respondent, and this is a quote, is all a blessing or a curse? Only 21.6% considered it a blessing. The majority of respondents across the country, especially in Takrady, felt it was neither a blessing nor a curse. 10% explicitly considered oil a curse, while 15.1% were uncertain about its impact.
Well, so I'm not going through the methodology and the size and sample size and all that, but it's a good research, and that's what we're discussing this year. If you go back to history, to Nigeria, when they discovered oil, the Delta, the Niger Delta, or I've forgotten that region.
Niger Delta.
Yeah. They were more into agriculture until they discovered oil. Then they moved into oil. My brother, you can count the number of major conflicts in Nigeria as a result of oil. As a country, we've not had a major conflict as a country. For me, that's why I say it's not a curse.
Okay.
Because we have not recorded any major conflict. If we go to Central or the Western region, the only challenge we've had about the chiefs coming out to say that they are not being taken care of in their region and all that. Beyond this, we've not recorded any major conflict in the country. And that can say it's a plus. Let's also know that it's not a case because we've seen or we've gotten some major development gains. You mentioned the fund that that supported the free SHS.
Yeah.
I don't know the percentage, but about 12% or so, or 14% coming from the ABF account to support the free SHS project. So by and large, we've seen some blessings, some positive signs. We've also seen some worrying signs. But then we want to encourage administrators, those who are in charge of our economy, that beyond the oil, there are so many other minerals that we can get to advantage that can help the country. So,
but could the issue also be about how people see the distribution? Because this one says, quote, the survey shows that a lot of Ghanaians feel that inequality is a major development challenge that the government should pay more attention to. About 91% of the survey respondents considered inequality as a significant development problem which requires attention. Could that be the issue, the reason why people see it as neither as a curse or a blessing?
Inequality
in
yes. terms of
about the distribution of the wealth. For example, if you go to the Nzima area, the roads are beautifully done. But if you shift to Ahanta West, very poor roads. So if you speak to someone in Ahanta West, well, I've not benefited from the oil. But if you go to Nzima, maybe someone will say, because my community has been constructed.
Yeah. So sometimes it's about priority. It's about priority. A road will be there that leads into another hospital that needs to be constructed in no time. Other places, it will take time. So it depends on where he picked the data from. But I said, by and large, we've seen some promising signs, we've seen some positive, we've seen some negative. It's about inequality. That is why we do research, to inform policymakers. This is what. So we expect that our government should take interest in such reports and then see the best way to implement some of these results.
Appiah Danquah, the head of Energy and Petroleum at the Ministry of Finance, Joseph Sapong, said the government a few months ago amended the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011 to ensure that the entire ABFA was dedicated solely to infrastructure development. Where to go? If we say we want to see the blessing, maybe infrastructure will do it.
The one confession, personally, the way I've seen things in this country, I'm not moved by some of these statements. So we'll do this, we'll do that, and we'll do no. Because the biggest problem we have in this country is lack of commitment.
Okay.
Lack of commitment. You see, Ghana, and that's what Alan said. You fully understand. No action, talk only. So forgive me, but. They say they're going to dedicate. So we'll see. You see, how for infrastructure, you can
will help us monitor whether they are channeling.
You can't because the infrastructure deficit in this country is alarming.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes.
Once they do infrastructure, could the Western region people also say that we want to see more because that's we are close to the resource?
You see,
or because this is for the entire nation, we have to spread it equally.
This debate was had way back before independence.
I remember.
Yes, way back before independence. But that was what caused
the proposal for federalism.
No. Yes. So, see, there has been misinformation. This misinformation always comes up around August 6th. The view that the National Liberation Movement came out of the UP, when indeed they came out of the CPP. No, my own father was a CPP member.
Yeah.
Together with, you understand. Now, the CPP was a federation of a lot of youth movements across the country. And central to that was the Ashanti youth. Ashanti youth broke away from the CPP and began the NLM under the auspices of the Otumfuo then and Bafo, it was called Akoto. Now, one of the fundamental reasons why they departed from the CPP was because of this debate, whether or not we should allow every region to use its own resources to develop themselves, or we should pool
the resources together.
Kwame Nkrumah was really strong on bring everything together so that
let's share
development. So don't let us depart from
that one. It should come into a national call first.
Yeah,
we share.
It's not sure whether or not I agree with that view or not. But if that is a principle, that's an appealed national agenda, then we should consider, it's not about because then they want to the Ashanti region also.
So we all share.
Use their gold, their cocoa to.
Because in fact, the largest oil find we're about to have is in the Votain Basin.
Yeah.
Very, very large. So
yeah.
Anyway.
But just to add, we need to also relook at decentralization, like you were saying, because real governance is not a decentralization. If there's any chance of us developing very quickly, then we need to look at decentralization, strengthen our decentralization.
Okay. All right. Now, this is coming from Mr. Kwesi Baini. He says, good morning. It is not a curse because we have what nature has granted us. But the people, as Ghanaians, are a curse to the blessing. Kwesi Baini. Anyway, he is a former DC of Hunter West and a journalist as well. I'm sure you remember him those days. He used to write a lot. Let me bring in a Prof. Prof, let's go to your paper. What paper do you have?
The Ghanaian Publisher.
Okay, all right.
I have a story here on the page 3, page 2. Mohamed's Galamsey work, a facade says Ghana Academic Professional Forum.
Okay.
And then there's one here, the GTech queries F2 NDC PC over title. I'm sure I will touch on the two stories.
What story? Yes.
So the first one is on.
You want to touch on the early knockout?
This one?
No, I think we've over. It's also overflowed.
Okay, but at least you mention it.
No,
He's already mentioned it earlier.
Because of time.
I didn't.
Okay, bro, mention it again.
Yeah. So early knockout. So let me mention it to him. Page 3, early knockout. MPP's MP back Boakye, and I'm sure it's already overflowed.
Prof, so let's go into the.
So the GTech queries F2 and DC over title, doctor title. You know, and I'll link this one to the Ghana Academy of Professional Forum. A press conference was organized 2 days ago that gave a score to the MPP administration, and then another issue tackled the fake PhD certificates, and then the Galamsey issue. So I'll link the two. In fact, GTech, I'm sure, in recent times have been putting names the media about those with fake titles, should not be called themselves doctors and professors. In fact, they are doing well, and there's so that's why we also added a voice. We individuals coming from academia, we are equally worried about the upsurge of some of these titles over the period of time. We had one, some from this administration. A lot of them names have been mentioned. And if we don't check this, it doesn't speak well for academics. Again, if we are checking PhD titles, we also need to focus on the master certificates and first degree certificates. not only PhDs, certificate that we should focus on.
No, but this one, he's talking about, for example, some people,
It's about title.
doctors are honorary.
Yeah.
That they are using, and they are cautioning that no.
Yeah.
When they also think that you have a questionable PhD, they will question on that.
Yeah, I'm saying that beyond looking at the
They should
PhD.
verify people's master's and first degrees.
Because if at that level, at the apex, we are recording such a number, then what about the bottom?
Okay.
The masters and then the first degree. They should also focus on that area, especially in this administration and the number that we are recording. Then on the Galamsey fight, the group also listed some of the activities embarked upon by this current administration. The Blue Initiative to protect the water bodies. Yeah. In fact, we have not seen major commitment from this administration. The earlier voices we heard before elections have gone quiet.
Really?
Yeah.
Ken Ashibe is still talking?
We've not seen others.
Okay.
This administration started before the elections. Lot of promises. We want to see same commitments exhibited by this administration. We've not seen that. And I don't know whether we are waiting for the next election, the next 4 years. That is where the CSO, this group of people who were over the place championing this. It's affected everyone. It's an issue that we can't go to sleep. And we want the earlier voices that started. The UTAC, the other members,
say labor.
The labor unions should come up again, and then we'll deal with this issue head on.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Yeah, Appiah, from your daily analyst, any issue you want to, we have just 3 minutes now, so you
government must be decisive. NSC as well as John Fogg massive support national trading. So over 60 MPP publicly endorsed by Baumia. Government to review decentralized SHS food supply. Adan Youth Voice Outreach. NSC Staff Union Hill suspension of central management system. I think I'll take the government to review decentralized SHS food supply. And I think it's in line for it's in line with my call for a radical decentralization. Yeah. So I think I want to support this call. I think we must revert to days when the secondary school themselves bought their own food. During over the past 8 years, everything was centralized. And I think we also saw the negative impacts when people were fed with what's called insect-infested food and also food. But beyond this, I think we must have, it's really critical that we have a real look at our decentralization system. We must have real fiscal decentralization. Was real development, real governance, what's called, is done there. And this government must do everything in their power to enable that.
Okay. What we're going. Which issue in the Ghanaian Times you want to take briefly, and let's say goodbye.
I would go for. Okay, we've discussed government committed to enhancing SHS infrastructure.
Okay.
There's a story I wanted to speak on regarding the EC.
Okay.
Which is not here. Is that okay, or I should?
It's not in the Times, but you want to speak on the EC. Okay,
yes,
fine.
Yes. I would say that I listened to Dr. Bosman Asare yesterday. I think he answered the questions very well. He did a good job. And I just hope and pray that the people of Ablekuma North get their representation as soon as possible. The longer it drags, the worse the situation becomes.
Okay.
So that I would make that call.
Thank you very much. So that is Kwame Nkrumah Botiu. He combines the names of two very prominent people. Kwame Nkrumah Botiu is General Secretary of the CPP. Lawyer Appiah Danquah is a lawyer and the spokesperson for the movement for change, Afrafranto. And you also have Professor Boadi there. He is the Dean of the UPSA School of Business. Accounting and finance, yes. I'll be in that school to learn accounting, yeah? Well, this has been the AM show. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Please do stay with us because we have a lot to share with you.